Hi everyone, welcome back to this video on how to add and customize a toolbar in a Blazor Pivot Table. Using the Blazor Pivot Table toolbar, you can easily access frequently used features like switching pivot tables and charts, changing chart types, conditional formatting, exporting, and so on. First, I will open an existing Blazor application that has a Blazor Pivot Table with a list of data retrieved from the product details data source. If you want to know how to get started with the Blazor Pivot Table component, refer to the video linked in the card above. I will run this application to show the initial output. You will see the pivot table rendered with the given data source. Now, I will show you how to add a toolbar to the pivot table. To enable the toolbar option, I define the Show Toolbar property and set its value to true. Next, to add items to this toolbar, I use built-in toolbar options like Create a Report, Save a Report, Chart Types, Exporting, Formatting, and so on. Let me first show you how to enable the options for creating a new report and saving a report in the toolbar. To do that, I create a list of type toolbar items with the name Pivot Toolbar. And add the toolbar items New, Save, and Save As. Then, I assign this list to the toolbar using the toolbar property. You can see the pivot table rendered with a toolbar. Even though these items are added, I need to handle their actions manually by using the built-in Save Report event. To do that, I define the Pivot View Events tag with the t-value product details. Then add the Save Report event with the event handler save. This event will be triggered whenever a new report is created and the existing report saved. So, in this event handler, I will define logic for creating a new report and saving an existing report. Let's see how to do it. I declare two list objects of type string to store the collection of reports and report names in an array. After that, I define the event handler save, which accepts the save report args argument. This argument contains information about the current report. Inside the event handler, I declare an integer variable and set its value to 0, which will be used for the iteration of the report collection looping. And define a Boolean variable isSaved to check whether the action create report or save report needs to be performed. First, I define a logic for saving a report. For that, I iterate the report name list and check if the given report name already exists in the collection. If it does, I will save the current report to the existing reports collection and set the Boolean variable is saved to true. Next, I define the code to create a new report. For that, I check whether the current report is not null and is not saved. Then, I create a new report by adding the current report to the reports collection. To access the newly created reports and existing reports, I add a drop-down list to the toolbar by adding the toolbar item Load. This Load drop-down will contain the collection of reports. I need to bind events like Load Report and Fetch Report for loading and fetching the reports through this drop-down. Before that, I create an instance for the Pivot Table component to access the pivot table during loading and fetching reports, and add a reference to it using the @ref property. Next, I add the events, Load Report and Fetch Report with the respective event handlers inside the Pivot View Events tag. I also define event handlers with the appropriate logic for loading and fetching reports. In the fetch method, I have fetched the reports by converting the report name objects into an array and assigned it to the current report name object. In the load event handler, I have iterated the report name list and loaded the respective report using the load persist data async method. Look, you can see a drop-down added to the toolbar. Here, the sample report is the default name of the current report, which is saved and named internally. Now, I click on Create a Report. In this dialog, I name the new report and click OK. Check now, a new report is created and added to the reports drop-down list. Now, I will show how to use the Save As option. As you know, the current report is already saved in the sample report file. Suppose I make changes to that report by sorting the country field in descending order and want to save it in a separate report. I use the Save As option. When I click on Save As, a dialog opens and I name the updated report. You can see that the updated report is saved as a separate file and added to the dropdown. Next, I am going to add options for renaming and removing reports from the pivot table. To display the rename and remove icons, I add the toolbar items, rename and remove, in the toolbar list. Then, I need to bind these options with their respective events to handle respective actions. So, I bind the events, rename report and remove report with the event handlers rename and remove, respectively. I also define the appropriate logic in the respective event handlers. In the remove method, I have iterated the report name list and removed the corresponding item from the report list, and then checked if the report list is not empty. If so, I loaded the first item in the reports list using the load persist data async method. In the rename event handler, I have checked if the report already exists in the report collection, and if it does, I have iterated the report name list and removed the corresponding item in the report and report name lists. Next, I replaced the corresponding item with the rename property received in the args object. I click on the rename option and rename the report. The renamed report is updated in the dropdown. To delete any report, I use the delete option. Okay, so far I have shown you how to perform the basic actions like creating a new report, saving, renaming, and deleting reports using toolbar items. Now let's see how to add the pivot chart option to the toolbar. To do that, I define the pivot view display option and set the view as both, as I want to access both the chart and table from the toolbar. Initially, I would like to display table, so let me set the table as a primary option by defining the primary property and setting its value to table. Next, in the toolbar items list, I need to add these chart and table options. You can see the grid and chart options added to the toolbar. When I click on the chart dropdown, 6 types of charts are initially shown. For more types, I need to click the More option. In this dialog, you can see all the supported chart types. I choose the spline type and click the Yes button. See, the current report is displayed as a spline chart. Apart from this, I can also customize the axis and legend options in the chart. By default, the chart displays in a single axis with legends. But now, I plan to enable multiple axes and disable legends by clicking the appropriate options. The chart is updated with the defined options. I can switch to the table by clicking the grid option here. By default, the chart icon displays all chart types in a toolbar. If you want to limit the number of chart types, you can use the chart types property. I create a list of type, chart series type with the name chart types. Then add only 4 types of charts to the collection: column, bar, area, and line. To add this chart types collection to the component, I define the chart types property and assign the list chart types to it. Look at the toolbar, only 4 types are displayed in the charts dropdown. Next, I will show you how to access exporting from the toolbar. To do that, I define allow PDF export and allow Excel export properties and set their values to true. Then I add the export option to the toolbar items list. Look here, the exporting option is added in the toolbar. I click on this option to export the report in PDF. Notice the report is exported as a PDF. Alright, next you will see how to customize subtotals and grand totals from the toolbar. I add subtotal and grand total options to the toolbar list. You can see the subtotal and grand total options added to the toolbar. Notice, the subtotals are displayed by default. As I do not want to display the subtotals on the table, I select the appropriate option. Notice the subtotals are removed. The grand totals of both rows and columns are displayed on the pivot table by default. Now, I want to display the grand total for rows only. I click on the grand total option and display only the grand totals of rows by choosing the appropriate option. I also customize the position of grand total to the top. Notice the grand total is customized as defined. Next, I will show how to access formatting using the toolbar. To do that, I define the allow number formatting and allow conditional formatting properties and set their values to true. I also add the formatting option to the toolbar list. Look here, the number formatting and conditional formatting can be accessed from the toolbar now. Let me demonstrate conditional formatting by choosing it. In this dialog, I will add the preferred condition. I want to format all value fields, which are less than 1000, with the custom font style in red background. I click the Apply button, and the pivot table is updated with the defined format. Finally, I will show you how to add the FieldList option to the toolbar. I enable the Show FieldList property in the SF Pivot View tag and add the FieldList option to the toolbar list. The FieldList icon appears on the toolbar, using which I can filter, sort, add, and remove fields. In this video, you have seen how to add and customize a toolbar in the pivot table. If you would like to see a working example, you can download it from the GitHub link in the description below. I have also provided a link where you can see if you qualify for a free license key to use our Blazor products through our community license. If you found this video useful, do like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.